So it's interesting because in the video, Vulcan's talking about Curse being so predictable and using the same champions over and over. Those are the champions that they used last week. So far this week, they've already started using different new champions. So I don't know if the strategy that Vulcan prepared for Curse is still going to be applicable.
Let's see if they can pull it out this time around, though. Look at the bans coming through. The Vulcan.
They're staying with it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And the Void Boy Tryndamere as well just dropped away. I mean, these are the high-impact champions, right? You give Void Boy that scary split pusher, the soloer who can just kind of win a game by himself. I understand removing that.
And for Vulcan, they really value TF a lot, TF and Shen, and TF is still on the board. But we haven't really seen Mandatory Cloud run that TF as the only global presence that they bring. They usually will bring 2 if they are going to run it. So if they actually pick one here first, then we'll expect a secondary one, which would be something like a Nocturne or a follow-up, so that they don't just have all Mandatory Cloud's responsibility for making those global plays.
You think they could do that with just a Summoner Teleport, or they need a lower cooldown than that?
They haven't really been that big of fans of Summoner Teleport, so I think that they're going to rely on just the champion abilities.
Okay, so a couple of options left available, and they decide, you know what, we'll go with the tried and true, the Bloodwater Sona. I mean, Edward's probably going to pick Thrash or Nami anyway, but still want the Sona.
Yeah, so this is an advantage. When you are the shot caller, the most vocal person on your team, you get to get your pick first. Yeah. Hey guys, I think we should get Sona first here. Bloodwater, definitely one making that call. But you're right, Edward has been such a fan of Thresh for a long time, for the last couple splits, but also recently, the Nami. And I was talking specifically with Patoy about Nami mechanics, just because she's interesting.
Yeah.
And he said that one of the things that took a lot of people time to get used to is that if you throw up the bubble, people expect it to be a quicker cast time if you throw it right next to you, but it's actually the same cast time if you cast it right next to you or if you throw it at max distance. So the delay, you have to account for the changing delays depending on how far you throw it.
Yeah, think of it more like Rupture, and no one really plays support Shogat, so not all of them are used to it. But guys, the next 2 picks have come through. The Jace coming back in here for Curse, and the St. Vicious Nasus. These are champions that this lineup are no strangers to.
Yeah, Void Boy definitely loves Jace, and so does Jackie. So I like that. It's still a flexible pick, even though the cooldown on his gate was increased, and the changes to tier definitely hurt him, delay his power spike for the Muramana. But he's still a very strong pick, and it hasn't scared teams off of continually picking him up. Whereas Nasus, he's just been a staple in the jungle for many teams, and he's quite simple to use.
So there we go. Then the push power then coming out there. We saw that actually from when Cloud9 used him very well, and TSM actually managed to make that one happen as well just last game. So the pushing power is there. The Mundo, I feel like, is not necessarily the pick here for Smithy. I know
there's
Edward.
a story. There's a story behind it.
Go for it.
And it is that Edward loves support Mundo, especially in solo queue, which is definitely very different from the North American LCS.
Maybe.
So that's why we haven't seen it actually in the LCS. But I love the dare from Vulcan there.
Yeah.
Try poking Edward, see maybe he can pick it here in this game.
Hasn't picked a support just yet, you never know. The next picks have come in though for Vulcan. They've got the late game hyper carry here for Zuna. We hadn't seen him on Tristana in a while. He's finally back onto it, picking that one up, the long range, the high damage output. And ManCloud also blind picking his mid lane as Ahri. So an assassinator, a picker. See if Vulcan can make that one happen for him.
Another story about that one is after their success with Ahri, you know, just inquiring about their team composition, Mentor Cloud just says, you know what, I just wanted to play Ahri at the beginning of that game, and so I said, hey guys, it's an Ahri day. Yeah, apparently Vulcan not as much thought into the team comp overall as we would think, but it did work out very well for them, and Mentor Cloud is one of their main playmakers.
He's going to hope to make some plays in this game, as Curse have just found their own little bit of composition. The Ashe Zyra coming back out. They ran it just yesterday, I want to say, and almost worked out for him in that game against TSM. They're bringing it back here against Vulcan and saying, all right, well, maybe second tries the charm.
Yep, these are all champions that Cloud9 would run. So Curse have been using pretty much aligning their values with the values of the #1 team here, which is not a bad idea.
No.
And they all, more importantly, they all have practice on these champions. These are not new champions for them. So it's a very easy transition here for Curse. And I like this adaptation. The only thing is we'll see if they actually execute it the same way, because Cloud9 has a very specific style that they run.
See what Curse can do with this one then, because the engaged potential is definitely nice. The last couple picks come out for Vulcun and his Smithy back on to Evelynn. And the Malphite coming in for Psycho Sid. So a lot of engaged power here for the Vulcun lineup.
I love the Malphite pick against Ashe because he can get right to her. She has the only way she could get out of that is if she flashes an unstoppable force, which is hard to do in the first place. And then attack speed reductions on Ashe are very, very efficient because her end game crit damage, she gets bonuses for her crit, and if you can reduce attack damage, she can't get those off. Reduces everything so much.
And now Curse gets to make their final choice because, as you mentioned, Jace can be run by Voyboy or by Nijaki, so they could have picked a mid laner or a top laner with his last grab right here, assuming the Zyra is support. Right now, they're looking at Rumble. I want to make sure they actually decide what they want to go for. Heck, I mean, top lane Nass is even something we've seen before. If it is Jungle of Moon, less likely. But a theoretic possibility. We go the last couple of seconds, and it is going to be Edward locking in the Rumble for the team. So a lot of long-range tools here for Curse.
And it looks like Curse want to run their comp similar to Cloud9. They're putting so much emphasis on this potential to fight over the early and mid-game dragons. So I have to keep track of those, because if Curse run this comp and don't get those fights, then they will lose out in the end of game here. If Vulcun, they're going with a strategy of picking people off. They're going to try and separate members of Curse and use that Evelynn to flank in from the side and use Ahri's mobility to catch people and then burst them down from 100%. We'll probably see Mandatory Cloud go with that Deathfire Grasp build that's so effective in just 100%ing people.
And of course, as we saw in the Dignitas vs TSM game, Dig actually managed to sneak in the first Dragon or so and prevented that Nasus, the team fight sort of control around Dragon area. So if Curse can play it right, again, they want to take those Dragon fights. If Vulcun play it right, though, they actually circumvent that entire situation. And as you said, they're going to go for picks right here. This is a battle that Curse really needs to win right here. They're in a tie for 6th. If they lose, they drop down to 7th place. They actually drop down as far as Coast is going to be, which is a rough spot. They don't want to be there. They don't want to be so far down. Vulcun, though, especially with TSM just losing that last game, yeah, sorry, I blanked randomly.
They've really had a boost to their confidence because they had a shaky week last week, and people started actually questioning them again because they had just come into the spotlight, and now they've just come back and they've been much more solid, and they've really had their confidence just brought back up, I think, for this week. So they're feeling pretty good.
There we go, guys. So the playoff race in for these battles, in for these teams. Vulcun on the blue side, spawning in the bottom left. Bloodwater already choosing to skill up that Q and charge his power chords. Pretty good choice right there. And of course, Curse in the top right in red. You've got that Ashe Zyra duel, and it's been so popular the second half of this split in the LCS, at least in North America. No one else really pulling that one in for themselves. And adding a lot of damage output and team fight control. That seems to be a good strategy here for Curse. And we're seeing Curse actually have a kind of a defensive setup, whereas Vulcun kind of an early aggressive setup.
Voyboy's going to see this one, but he has to be careful here and not stay in range long enough for Mandatory Cloud to check that bush, because Mandatory Cloud has not leveled up an ability yet, and he could quickly level up Charm if they found someone 1 versus 4. Yeah. It's definitely worth a first blood to start out with a different level 1 spell than you would optimally want for your lane.
For the lane. So both teams actually pushing in to get some wards down, kind of aggressing the opposing blue buffs. Edward had put one down in the brush around blue. Meanwhile, Vulcun putting theirs in kind of down towards the cliff. It spots part of river, actually, which is kind of interesting. So we can see some of the gank paths. I also like that Curse has an early vision ward down on kind of the side in front of their own lizard buff. It'll spot if Smithy wants to go in there. Voyboy actually standing on top of a ward, gets rocket jump, the flash exhaust comes in. Here comes a flash charm, they find it, the ignite is on. Do they have the damage? No flash up for Voy, he's shield, the flash Q, first blood to Psycho Sid.
3 flashes, 2 ignites, 1 exhaust, 1 first blood. And MasterCard accepted everywhere.
Priceless indeed. So here we go, guys. Kerr is going to steal away the blue buff, but of course, Vulcun with complete control of the opposing one. I'm actually surprised that Smithy's not going for it right now. Saint burns his smite on this blue buff and goes to run back around the map. We have ManCloud fighting Jackie in the mid lane. Smithy's just grabbing his red, actually burns his smite for it. He's actually having a much slower time of the jungle despite the level 1 advantage.
Yeah, and it's very hard for Evelyn to get back since she didn't start with the blue, and now she has no smite. She has to have Sona help her take away this second buff if she wants to have much of a chance of getting back quickly into this game. You can see they're immediately sending Bloodwater up there. They feel safe doing this because they already got the first blood on Voidboy and blew his flash, so he's going to not want any part of any sort of invade or any early fights.
And Smithy looks completely safe right here.
Wow.
Sure the pink
Never mind then.
Yeah, just no one even wanted to stop him. So a standard 2-for-2 buff trade, just the first blood, really making things different here at this level 1. Bloodwater, you're seeing him zone out the opposition. Nick Smithy says, I'm just going to farm out my jungle for now. Seems to not find a gank worthy of his time. And actually, I think this happened last time McSmithy was on Evelyn when they fought Velocity Esports. He actually farmed a lot early on Eve.
Yeah, and this is the okay early part for him is because he started out with 24 AP from runes. So he's runing for the extra power from his hate spike here early to help him clear out this jungle. That's why he didn't have the difficulty with taking down that blue.
And you see Saint showing up though, being a Nasus, defending his solo laner right here in a 2 versus 2. But Vulcun actually have left their top lane alone. Psycho Sid actually went for the Wolf camp and partially cleared that one out, then rejoined his lane. But his turret's already down to half HP right now. This is not the easiest start here for Sid.
So they sort of forced Smithy to the bottom side of the map with the buff exchange right there. So it definitely delayed him in bringing the assistance up to his Malphite here. And they're already very far behind in the early turret game.
And 5 to 6 as far as solo laner minion kills are concerned, but the turret losing health is the real thing to be concerned about. Bloodwater takes a harpoon to the face, and Void, because of not being pressured and actually being defended by St. Vicious, is just holding onto this lane pretty successfully. Vulcun not really getting in on this turret, as you mentioned. So, you know, there's just going to be Zuna trying to farm, but not getting any real global lead.
Yeah, Curse are very, very happy to go with a 2 versus 1 situation when the jungler on Vulcun is Evelyn, because Evelyn is such a sneaky champion. If you can keep her in that lane with Psycho Sid, forcing her to stay in vision and defend you, it means that you don't have to be worried about constantly having pink wards.
They jump in there, of course, no flash for Bloodwater, but they go in on a Voidboy who doesn't have his either. Can Zuna do enough damage? Bloodwater goes down to St. Vicious. Zuna, do you have enough damage? That brush is warded, but the shield comes out. Zuna needs the jump reset. He's going to jump away with Wither on him. Now Saint does not have flash anymore, but red buff could just be enough. His Spirit Fire should be coming up soon. He might get the cube, charges it, but the barrier comes out by Zuna, and Saint's going to have to run away from this one.
So again, they wanted to work with the flashes that were expended to get the first blood on Voidboy, but since Voidboy also had burned his in defense, ends up being just a trade right there, and actually definitely in favor of Vulcun because Zuna's still free to farm up, whereas Voidboy loses out on quite a few experience points from these minions.
And the push to the turret doesn't end up doing much from St. Vicious. Did some damage with the Spirit Fire there, but didn't quite chunk his opponent out. And now Bloodwater is here to lend a healing hand and keep Zuna alive. And just looking at the AD carries, 35 to 40 with 1 kill and an assist on Zuna. So he is well on his way to getting gigantic and being that scary AD carry that Vulcun really like to have in their lineup.
Yeah, Zuna's feeling pretty good about that kill, but because of the action down bottom, they haven't put any damage on the turret, and it's going to be Curse who have the first turret pickup here. So it's going to be Curse being able to rotate their AD and support down to that dragon that they want to pick up the first fight with.
St. Vicious is getting jumped on a bit by Mandatory Cloud. Good damage coming out from the Ahri, but use the Spirit Rush to escape. Realize he's out of mana, can't do too much else there. Kind of an odd one to use, but hey, you know, to each their own. The turret does go down. There is Cop and Edward making it happen. Zuna's going to recall back for items here. See what he picks up, because as you mentioned, Dragon might be on the table now.
And Voidboy is using this time wisely, trying to get to that level 6 so that they can have Equalizer for the Dragon fight. And he's doing a good job because, you know, Zuna on that Tristana is always going to be pushing the lane. Because of the explosive shot, she passively pushes it. And Voyboy doesn't want to have to overextend before he does get his level 6.
And it looks like actually it's interesting because they are staying around for now. Jackie showing back up to the mid lane there.
So they want to wait for the rotation from their AD and support until Voyboy hits 6. There's not a lot of point of having that dragon fight if your Rumble ulti fight doesn't have a Rumble ulti in it.
So maybe Vulcun trying to put pressure on it before that even happens. Look at Smithy there. They're trading the blue buff away. Curse are taking this one down, but Smithy and Bloodwater just saying, you know what, screw it. We'll take Dragon now. We'll circumvent the Nassau. We'll circumvent the Rumble ultimate and go for this right here. They're coming in.
Very sneaky choice here from Vulcun. They are playing Curse very well. And Bloodwater is playing this Dragon very well. You can see him going in and out of melee range of the Dragon to make the Dragon waste time turning around 180 degrees, so the damage output is a lot less. And that's the only reason they're actually able to take it so early, even with a Sona and an Evelynn.
Beautiful stuff then. Of course, Curse are rewarded by stealing away probably both blue buffs at this point, but I gotta say, at that point, it's probably just worth it because Dragon for 2 blues is nice unless Curse does something with the blue buffs, unless they actually create some kind of a fight where the blue buff makes a difference. And there's St. Vision. He sweeps out the ward and goes, that's what they did by not taking blue. Okay, so he knows kind of the timer on it. He says, okay, it died at least before 8 minutes, but that's why we got blue buff. So we'll see if Curse can do something with those blues or if the Dragon ends up being the better play.
Yeah, we talked about the importance of this Curse team actually executing like Cloud9 and getting the chain dragons. They have missed out on the first one. And you're right, Vulcun have the timer on it. So even if Vulcun aren't able to capitalize on the second one, they'll know when Curse want to move for it. So they actually do have a good amount of information there. And Jackie, the blue buff on. Oh, here we go. Down bottom lane. Zuna, though, looking for Cop.
Used Cop getting low on HP. And, of course, the W already burned by Smithy. Couldn't get enough damage. Good flash by Cop. Allowed him to get Buster shotted away back towards his own turret and not into the lineup of Vulcun. So good reflexes there. Didn't even have to barrier. Cop only had to burn one summoner. And, of course, Smithy spent his time. So Curse going to grab 3 of the 4 buffs this rotation. We'll see what they can do with them.
Because they didn't kill him, they got him low enough, though, to shove him off of this turret. And it's very dangerous for Edward with no flash to stick around as well. So they are going to get an objective off of that gank, even though they weren't able to get a kill off of it.
So finally, that 2-on-1 lane, the old 2-on-1 lane does turn into a turret off that gank on a Cop. Good job there by Smithy. Doesn't get a kill, but gets a flash. But ManCloud running into the enemy team, gets found by St. Vicious, jumps away with the Spirit Rush, has the last jump right there. Boy flashes for the slow, but there's Psycho Sid. Unstoppable Force knocks him into the air. Now getting chased away by Voyboy. Has some MR. Saint's going to flash over for this one. Jackie coming to chase down. There's the Wither. Charm lands on the Saint, and Curse are still chasing down. Jackie has blue. Flashes in. Might just be enough here. Can he get the damage he needs? ManCloud forced to use W. Psycho Sid's still losing health, but slows down Saint, and Curse cannot get a kill out of this one. Good escape by Vulcun.
And they all burn their flashes to chase this one. Now they're actually the ones on the run. Ari looking to go back in. They wanted to pick off Jackie, but that last shock blast landing scared them away.
Okay, so nice try there by Curse. Almost got the catch they wanted. Almost every ultimate there was burned. A lot of flashes, as you mentioned. Smithy, though, because his mid laner rotated out, Smithy takes the mid lane farm, not leaving anything up to die to a turret or die to minions. He's going to get the farm for himself, power up as Evelynn. It's always a good choice as junglers.
And speaking of powering up, the reason that the blue buffs was a pretty decent exchange there for Curse is that Jackie on Jace, having the tier, the blue buff is going to help him charge that up a lot because the cooldown on the charges have been increased and the charge amount has been decreased. So you definitely appreciate that one. And they'll try and get to that Muramana as quickly as possible. Every blue buff helps, Freak.
Every blue buff does help. He's going to do whatever he can to stay up and stay powered. 85-80 in his head-to-head matchup against ManCloud, so a small lead there. But Vulcun are winning the map overall right here. 2-1 on kills. Arrow lands on a Bloodwater. Cop diving in, gets knocked back by Zuna. Crescendo lands on 2. Edward going to go for the root on a Zuna. Finds it. Wither comes across. Rocket jump out. Zuna's going to be safe. Burn the Crescendo. Burn the Ash Arrow.
Decent exchange of ultis because the Crescendo could lock up multiple members, but the only reason that arrow even hit is because Bloodwater doesn't have boots. That point-blank arrow was very close to being dodged.
No, there's the gank on to Jackie. Smithy trying real hard. Jackie low on HP, of course, already burned his flash, so that will be a kill picked up. Smithy getting the kill credit. 3-1 now. Good gank.
there's the pick composition coming to fruition. They've got the roaming Evelyn, very hard to keep track of, and then Ahri can set up lane ganks like no other mid.
Landed the charm, made it happen, but now Cop on the chase against Zuna. Frost shots are there. Here's St. Vicious, lands the Wither. Can he do enough damage before the turret overwhelms him? Pops his ulti, still chasing down. Flashes the roots from Edward, but the ulti comes out. Knocked into the air is Zuna. Damage still coming out. Cop finds that one, and now Bloodwater in not the best place. Barrier comes across, almost picks up the kill. Mancloud takes the turret down in mid. Voidboy surely gets Bloodwater here. Good kill pickup.
Curse fans are so happy right now because they've seen Curse bumble these tower dives so many times down bottom. They actually had good communication on that one and a good exchange of tower aggro. Cop had the confidence that St. Vicious was going to take it long enough to put himself deep into enemy territory and finish the job even while taking a couple hits.
Very well done then, Curse with the coordination. Mancloud did trade the mid lane turret for that one and push down to the secondary, so Vulcun have a turret lead out of this one, but Curse have equalized in terms of champions, and Cop getting a champ kill, going 1-0-1, definitely going to help him keep pace with Zuna and get some real items in. But Zuna's got an early Blade of the Ruined King, and he's got it in time for Dragon in 30 seconds.
And that's always a dangerous item for Zuna. It's one of his favorite items because he loves, even as an AD carry, just brawling with people.
Yeah.
He won't hesitate to go for these early duels. So if someone's going to come split push and go up against Zuna, then they have to be ready for the all-in from that Tristana.
So be aware, guys. Mancloud has picked up his own blue buff. Baron's spawning in a minute and a half. Dragon spawning in 3 seconds, though. And Mancloud's going to have cooldowns and mana. He actually recalls to be healthy in time for this one, but Saint has already swept away wards at the Dragon. Voidboy's ult up in 20 seconds. Saint's up right now. Jackie's up in 2 seconds as well. Only Edwards has a bit of time to go. Arrow does not land, though. They looked for Xmithie but couldn't find it. That could be a crucial cooldown that Curse are missing.
Evelyn has a speed boost that doesn't cost any mana. Her Dark Frenzy can be activated for a 40%, and that is huge. Very easily enabling him to dodge arrows. And that misfire from Cop means that they actually do not have the Dragonfight power that they built their team around having, because Vulcun has so much engage.
Here comes the dive in. Charm does not land. Crescendo only hits on the Voidboy. Can the team keep re-engaging? Psycho Sid waiting on his ultimate. Who's going to go in now? Mancloud drop low. Good flash by Cop. Gets away from Sid. Sid now overextended. He's going to drop down. Edward gets dropped by Zuna, though. 1-for-1 so far. Saint in the front lines. Will Curse keep re-engaging? Saint flashes in, but gets dropped by the Charm right there. And now Zuna's still alive in the background. Voidboy toss out some harpoons. They're going to be safe, but 2-for-1 for Vulcun.
Could have been a lot worse for Curse if Cop did not flash that unstoppable force. And it was a max range unstoppable force, but still, you got to give him props for that.
And I'm impressed too by Psycho Sid waiting around. It wasn't like, okay, fight started, I'm ready. It was like, Psycho Sid, he's not going. When is it? Oh god, now.
The crescendo was a little bit of it made Vulcun reconsider the fight because it did only hit Rumble, and it was a little bit of wasted time right there. So let's take another look at that fight, actually. And we can see the poke kind of hesitant to go in here. There's Cop with a great flash last second on Psycho Sid. But Edward, too far right now, means that they are going to be able to turn this one around, and Vulcun come out with 2 kills. Because Saint flashed it in after Ahri. That's a dangerous proposition.
That's a Zuna special right there. It's chasing an Ahri into the brush and getting hit by all the skill shots. He's trying to learn from Vulcun. But Curse, though, they've still got a little bit of
Crystal
control
arrows
right
up,
here.
But no equalizer.
So we'll see if they want to fight for this one. They are actually forced back a little bit with this one. Vulcun on a bit of a surround. They've got Zuna and Xmithie on the bottom side. The rest of the team over towards the left. Awkward position for Vulcun, but it's enough to force Curse out. And Zuna can shove down the bottom lane. The rest of the team goes mid.
The reason that Curse didn't go for that one is because the 2 people that Cop was looking at to hit with arrows were Evelyn and Tristana, which both can dodge them pretty easily. So they didn't want to take the chance right there and lose the ability to defend with a crystal arrow.
So Vulcun have regrouped here, but they don't have the pink ward coverage right now. They can see Curse come in, but they don't have the wards on Baron itself. In fact, Zuna and Xmithie were both spotted there by that pink ward, so Curse knows exactly what's going on right now. They're just going to push down mid. Their ultis are back, so Curse's full teamfight power is here.
It's really going to be about who fires first with their long-range engage, because Vulcun have a great answer in the Unstoppable Force and the Crescendo, but Cop definitely does have the range advantage And if he's able to land his Crystal Arrow first, then that target is definitely in danger of just getting bursted 100% before Vulcun can answer. So it's up to Psycho Sid and Bloodwater to protect whoever is the unfortunate recipient of that Crystal Arrow.
Let's see if they can do it then, because Curse definitely can participate with all their long-range abilities of catching whoever gets arrowed and making them die real fast. Right now, Curse are looking at Vulcun doing Dragon, and they just cannot stop them. Vulcun managing to outmaneuver and take it down without much answer. Psycho Sid gets stunned, and here comes the re-engage. Charm onto Void. Down below half HP is Rumble, pushing down Psycho Sid, pushing down Mancloud. Psycho forced to flash away. Smithy looking for the re-engage. Puts the ulti down. Flash Crescendo onto 3. Edward falls down, and it's going to be a trade on a Bloodwater. Sate now in the middle of the enemy team, taking damage. Zuna chases. That's a 2-kill pickup here for Vulcun on the back of Dragon as well. Vulcun in control.
So they hit an arrow, but it was on the Malphite. It's a full tank Malphite. And they had to burn a lot trying to bring him down. He didn't even end up getting below 50% with all of that. Whereas Voidboy, trying to chase and get the damage done, lost everything.
So let's take a look at that game, that fight again real quick, watching Psycho Sid tank all through it.
All right, so the Harrow. There we go. This is a good start right here because Vulcun are split. Remember, the 3 other members are down below the Dragon at this point. So it takes them this long to rejoin. But now the secondary engage of Bloodwater's Crescendo locking up Curse long enough for them to come out with another double kill.
Beautiful stuff by those guys and great team fight coordination. That was the one thing, or one of the things that Saint said was so good about these guys is, look, we can take them out early game, but Vulcan's team fight coordination and their mid to late game decision making is so good. There was a team fight coordination right there. Saint said it, seems to be pretty true right here. And Vulcun now just reaping the rewards. Dragons have been theirs. They've got a equal turret kills, but they've got champion kills, and they've got minion kills. They're pretty much winning down the line. Aside from Edward out CSing Bloodwater, minion kill lead for every member of Team Vulcun.
Well, it was really just reactive play from Vulcun. I mean, Psycho Sid definitely did get caught in a bad spot, and Vulcun were really just trying to rush to the aid of their tank who was picked off. And since they have such great AoE follow-up, Curse, whenever you're chasing someone, pretty much your whole team follows the same route because you want to take the shortest distance to try and catch that person. So that automatically makes Curse group up for that and makes them susceptible to those AoE counter engages.
So beautiful stuff then by Vulcun to just keep their comp in mind, keeping their champions around and making sure they can get those counter engages going because they've worked so far. They've built a 4,000 gold lead, making it happen. Curse, though, regrouping. They've got all 5 mid. Void's actually sitting in the back. He's in Fog of War right now, hoping maybe he can surprise someone. They catch on to Zuna. There's the engage. Look at the damage output. Zuna below half, but Crescendo comes back across. But that might just be enough for Curse to make their way in. Mancloud is also low. The minions are going down. Will Curse stay for this one? Mancloud has no HP right now.
Curse are probably going to say because they know that they've forced off Mancloud and Zuna, which are the 2 giant damage dealers of Vulcun, and no kill, but they get a lot of damage onto this turret. It actually makes Smithy and Psycho Sid reconsider their flanking attempt.
Yeah, I feel like flanking a 3v5 is not the strongest flank. I feel like it's not going to work for you.
It's kind of like setting up a bush gank when you only have 2 members and the whole team's going to walk in. It's a good trap delay. But you don't have the firepower to back that one up. So
and they like blind bubble you and you just lose the game.
That's when you abort the mission. Good job there by Psycho Sid and Smithy. Now, let me just talk about the beginning of that fight. It was set up because Smithy was looking for a gank up top. They had Psycho Sid waiting in lane, just thinking that Voidboy would return up the top to 1v1 him. And Smithy was just waiting up there in the bush. That was all brought about by Voidboy waiting so far back in Fog of War, like you said, so they couldn't see him.
Really good stuff. Then the mind games in by Curse, thinking, they're waiting for Void. Void's actually waiting for us, so we're going to get you guys. So good pick right there. The poke landing and the long-range tools. Like, we don't normally see Jace a lot with these sort of long-range engage comps, but it's if we stun you, we'll land Shock Blast, we'll land Equalize, your health bar goes away. And it actually worked out quite nicely here for this Curse lineup, as long as their cooldowns are available. Arrow back up in 10, Equalizer back up in 10 as well. They can go for round 2 pretty soon. Cop is still taking up farm pretty nicely. He's got Infinity Edge. He's building towards his next build, so Cop, by his own right, will be able to carry pretty nicely.
Yeah, and it definitely shows that you have to always be cognizant of showing yourself on the map. The amount of information that you are giving the enemy is just as important as the amount of information you're able to take from your minimap.
So good stuff then. The Fog of War playing on Curse's side right now, and that's always fun to see the teams that actually manipulate map vision the best, because it's such a cool way to win a game and a way to make things happen. But of course, Vulcun, having already taken down that secondary middle turret, are looking to put some pressure really deep into Curse territory, and it's allowing them a lot of ward coverage. They've got a ward right here on the corpse of that turret. Edward didn't see that ward down. They've got another ward here in the lizard side jungle. Vulcun can see a lot of this top left side of the map as they pinch this outer turret.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and that is the reason they're putting so much emphasis on those wards, is because of their high pick potential composition. Cop goes for another arrow on Evelyn, but it is, again, easily dodged by Smithy, just activating his Dark Frenzy.
I think Voidboy equalized the wrong direction. He killed his own minion wave instead of the opposing minion wave there and didn't quite save the turret. So unfortunately, Curse
Luckily,
need to wait.
No friendly fire.
No friendly fire. The minion wave's going to go down anyway to Vulcun, but they're waiting on cooldowns anyway. The Ash arrow was down. They don't actually quite kill the turret right there. The last shots from the cannon minion cannot drop it down, so Curse don't get the middle turret from that push. But they were afraid of Evelyn. They're forced to run away from this one. Vulcun still in control. Dragon is coming up, but Curse are without two of their ultimates for this dragon fight.
Voidboy's heading down, you're right. He doesn't have his equalizer, which is the most important part, so it would have to be a bluff. And Vulcun are calling the bluff and then just going to rush down the dragon.
They're pushing hard. The poke lands on Azuna. Mancloud trying to zone out Curse, and there we go. Blue team is slaying dragon. That is Vulcun. 5,500 gold in the lead. Does Mancloud go in onto Saint? They see him walking through the minion wave. Bloodwater has Flash of Crescendo, but they don't want to waste cooldowns on the tank. They let Curse walk away and say, we'll save these for the next one. Curse, with his mini-wave, could take the middle turret.
They have all 5 members down there, so they don't have any presence in the mid lane or the top lane here. And Cop is going to take that opportunity to get that one last hit that was starving them of basically 1,000 gold.
Yeah, Sandra decided they were bad boys. They had no presence in the mid lane, so Cop got to take the turret down. That's your punishment. Instead of Cole, it's a dead turret. Smithy gonna just sweep out the mid lane. Once again, these guys trying to play the vision game and the minion control game so they don't get surprised by Ash arrows, so they don't get caught out from the darkness, from the shock blast and whatnot. Cop might be wearing the double slow build here. He's gonna be getting the red buff, so I don't think I want to get chased down by Cop, because I will not be able to run away from him.
Well, you don't want to get chased down by the whole Curse team, because wherever they move, they're gonna want to stay together. Vulcun are gonna thrive on side picks and the flanking maneuvers, so it's really up to Curse to sort of move as a convoy and show that unity that they're so famous for.
So here we go then. Teamwork for Curse. Can they find the next one? 7-5. They've done pretty well in team fights. They've been close. They're just unfortunately losing on a couple of things like dragon control. They've kept turrets equal. They've kept kills close. Just their lanes have been ever so slightly rough, getting minion kill deficits. Actually, take that back. They've closed that gap pretty successfully here. Mancloud actually ulting away. Edward just flashed for it.
A good sign for Curse right now.
Yeah.
So they can actually take advantage of this one. Taking away the mobility of Ahri basically breaks her kit.
Yeah.
While that's down, she's extremely vulnerable. Good thing for Mantor Cloud, he's got blue buff. Max cooldown reduction.
A lot of CDR on that guy. Not going to be too worried about this one. Getting his mana back as well, and they keep going for the wave clear game. And of course, Psycho Sid's imposing presence on Malphite actually face takes a shock blast and doesn't lose his passive for it. So doing less than 10% of his health there. And still getting ready. The arrow comes by.
Oh!
Good flash by Mancloud. Of course, couldn't ult for it. Will they re-engage on a Saint? He has been slowed down. The power core from Bloodwater making it happen too. Smithy diving for it as well. Of course, Zuna gets the kill onto Edward on the side of the map and might just push on forward. Smithy, there's the jump in, catches Cop despite the flash, and Mancloud gets that kill. Still no Spirit Rush, but it's Smithy still chasing on down, gets withered, has to get away from this one.
Great counter engage there from Vulcun, because they have not only the pick potential, but also the AoE CC of the Unstoppable Force and the Crescendo. They're able to pull that one out. Let's take another look right here as they do Baron. We can see how Edward got caught out. And this is the all-in from Zuna that I talked about earlier. This is why he loves Tristana so much, because he can take those opportunities to catch you off guard. You don't expect an AD carry to rocket jump at you and just use everything to go offensive.
And one of the things I liked as well was how much damage he knew he had. He used Buster Shot to secure the kill, and whenever you Buster Shot to secure a kill, they're no longer in range of you. So you got to make sure you do enough damage before that thing lands.
It's the same thing as a Lee Sin kick. If you're with one of those newer Lee Sins that can't quite judge the damage, you get a little frustrated as they kick away kills. But Tristana, she has the added benefit of both Zuna at that time had red buff, plus if you apply the explosive shot, there's a little bit of leeway there. They're still burning as they're flying away, so even if you don't quite get them, you do have an extra bleed damage on them.
Good job then by Zuna getting the assassination, preventing Edward from using his area of effects to really make anything happen in that team fight. And you saw it go so well for Vulcun. So now, Vulcun wearing the purple buff, wearing the Baron. They're up 7,000 right here and looking for the next move. At this point, I feel like they are pick-based, but they've got good initiation. They've got the Malphite, the Evelynn. They've got the follow-up as well. They might just be looking to close stuff out. Now, in interviews with Vulcun, they said, yeah, we don't mind taking it really slowly as long as we win in the end. We think we did it well. But I always think back to the one game against Cloud9 where they played it too slow and got caught out. I want to see how Vulcun does this.
So another thing that we could talk about on Vulcun is ManCloud's so focused on bursting down whoever they pick off that he now has 2 Deathfire Grass, which won't actually help him very much.
Still 120 ability power.
Maybe if he misses the key, he now has 2 options. He can get 5 and 6,
yeah.
5 or 6, and he'll still get one of them off.
It's useful. So good luck, ManCloud. I think you got this one.
Maybe he had a bad experience with fat fingering the wrong keys.
Actually, can you hover over, is the CDR unique passive or just a stat? All right, so he does, technically, everything but the active does stack. So it is 10 CDR and 120 AP.
It's not an efficient buy.
I mean, I'm not saying it's good, but at least it still works together a little bit. I don't know.
You don't want to save him from this one.
No, I believe.
They are, though. You were talking about how Vulcun stalling this game out. What they're doing with stalling, and if they don't finish it, is they're giving more opportunities for hit crystal arrows. The reason that Vulcun are winning right now is because Curse have been expecting all of these crystal arrows to hit their targets, but Vulcun have done such a good job of dodging them that Curse have overcommitted because they expected the result of the crystal arrow hit and the stun target. That's really the reason why Edward was out of position, because they were expecting that to land, and because of the dodge from Mandatory Cloud, that opened up the counter engage. So the more time that you give, the more shots that Cop can take, and the opportunity for one of those to actually land and go in Curse's favor.
So in the meantime, Vulcun are trying to strangle the map, though. They say, yeah, you might get some arrows, but we'll get your secondary turrets. They've got all 6 of those front 2 rows now. They've stolen away the blue buff. Vulcun are taking about as much of the map as they can. Now, their own buffs and Dragon are up. If they want to play the secure game, they can always take those out as they kind of steal away the jungle. And they might just keep playing that game of just, we'll get more gold than you, we'll get more gold than you. At some point, we'll find you again.
And you can buy your win in League of Legends here with this comp for Vulcun. The money eventually is going to get so big that Psycho Sid has enough armor that they can just dive turrets with reckless abandon. Because if he goes in first, which is what you want anyway with your Malphite, and he's got 400 armor, then he's not even going to feel the turret scratching his back there. So it's fine for Vulcun to basically just grab up every source of money that's on the map, because they can funnel that into the power spike that they want, where they're going to go for the actual dive and just obliterate Curse.
It's actually interesting looking at what they've done with their gold as well. Smithy picked up a Quicksilver Sash in case he gets arrowed. He can actually break out of that himself. Of course, ManCloud, unfortunately I was wrong about this one. Didn't want the Deathfire Grasp, did go Death Cap for this one, so not ability power. But Mikhail's Crucible as well for Bloodwater. They've actually built around the arrows and said, all right, well, if you catch us, we'll still get away from it.
That's the adaptation that I love the most, is that now as long as Bloodwater does his job and he doesn't get hit by the arrow, he'll be able to get whoever does get hit out of the situation. It's really, really smart. It's a rarely bought item, but it's nice because we've seen so many teams pick up Ashe. It's interesting we haven't had more Mikhail's Crucibles in those games.
And here's Curse actually looking to make their move. They've sent all 5 members mid lane while ManCloud is pushing the bottom lane. That's forced ManCloud and Smithy to show back up with the Vulcun lineup and play defense here. and say, look, we're not letting you get this really crazy push into our base. You think back to when a Curse's wins over CLG, where CLG just didn't react to Curse running down the lane, and they lost a game for doing that. Vulcun not wanting to make that mistake themselves. ManCloud had plenty of ability power, sweeping out the minions, wanting to push in and keep putting pressure on the Curse base.
And they're just trying to get more money. They split, though. There's an arrow hit.
Has to flash away. St. Vicious taking a little bit of damage. Zuna kiting backwards as well. Will he look to re-engage? Voyboy in the front. Knocks up 2. Crescendo follows up right there. Voy goes down. Zuna pops the ulti. Psycho Sid falls down. 1 for 1 so far. Here comes ManCloud from the side. Will they find the kills? Edward gonna go down. Cop dropped low, but fighting ManCloud off. Can he do the damage? No, he cannot. And St. Vicious also going to go down. Huge fight there for Vulcun. A 5 for 1.
3 versus 5 initially in that team fight. And Vulcun are the ones who pick up the first kill just because of how tanky Psycho Sid had gotten. I was talking about him trying to ramp up for the tower dives, but if they get engaged upon and they're able to kite long enough, then it enables that endgame Tristana with her Infinity Edge plus Blade of the Ruin King combo to just do so much more damage than Curse can even put out. And
there's still 10 seconds for Vulcun if they want to push in for much more. Turret's actually on Zuna right now, which is a bit of a risk, but they've now got their minion wave. This turret should be Vulcan's. Looks like they want to back out after the turret goes down. No, they stay for the inhibitor. Voyboy's back. The rest of Curse are reviving. There's a little bit of a scare here if they can get good crowd control. ManCloud gets rooted up in place. Zuna takes some damage. Edward's ulti goes off. Does not find a knock-up, though. ManCloud comes back in, looks for a bit of damage. St. Vicious not going to land much. Vulcan's going to get out.
It's going to be actually dangerous for Curse to chase this one. We have Equalizer coming up in another 10 seconds, but they still are trailing behind here with the rest of their team. And there's the arrow. It does hit Smithy.
He actually went into it and then QSS'd it. He said, I don't want Sid to get hit because the Mikhails is on cooldown. Sid doesn't have this item. He juked in, burned his cooldown, and let his team get out.
We've seen all game long him use his Dark Frenzy to dodge the arrows. He actually popped it there to take the arrow.
Very, very nice move by Smithy. But Curse, though, are using this to try to engage on for Baron. The knockup comes across, so Edward likely to fall down. Cop low HP as well, but the engage is now onto Zuna. Zuna down low on HP, but Jackie just overextended, falls down. Cop still alive, but Smithy wants blood, finds the kill, makes a Widow out of Ashe right there. Actually, a Widow out of Tryndamere, I should say. And Smithy now going to dive on forward, looking for Void, dodges the slows. But of course, that's a 4 for 0 fight.
Smithy's bold. He wants this Void kill. And he's going to chase him to the ends of the earth. But that means Vulcun, not only do they have 2 inhibitors down, but they've got a 5 versus 1 to end this game right now.
Yeah.
And they're actually, true to Vulcan style, going to stop at this turret and use a little bit more time.
A little bit more global gold, raises their GPM stats, and here comes ManCloud in. Looking for KDA maybe a little bit. Edward is back, though, as well. This is a bit close, 10 seconds till the revives. They go for the last turret right here. A little bit of damage coming across. Plants are up for Edward. 5 seconds till the revive. The push now in for the Nexus. It's going to probably be enough for Vulcun. Focusing down. That's going to be the game. Vulcun taking out Curse in style.
Congratulations to Vulcun, and they really deserve that one. I love the calls from Bloodwater. You can really see them in action too, and the adjustments that he has made. They let him have the Ashe Zyra combo and dealt with it perfectly.
They picked a bunch of assassins. You talked about the Malphite and the Ahri and the Evelynn, all these guys flanking around, how difficult it would be for Curse to navigate their slower moving, kind of unprotected backline there, and you saw the gameplay. You saw Psycho Sid being patient with his ultimates, tanking damage, saying, hit me, I dare you. Unstoppable force.
Yes.
And just made those fights happen.
Right into the middle. They really picked all of their damage as people who would not have a hard time with the Zyra disengage. We've got Evelynn who's flanking around the sides. Mandatory Cloud on Ahri's got 3 movement repositions, and then Zuna just has the range of Tristana along with his rocket jump. So they really tailored their composition based on the predictability of Curse that they talked about.
You're right, they did a very good job playing the champ select game. It's always fun talking to players who say, yeah, you know, I'm the one who does the research into the team compositions and expect what people are going to say. And it's fun listening to a guy who says, yeah, they picked every champion I thought they would.
Yeah, Bloodwater definitely deserves his spot. Ever since they picked him up, this team just transformed.
They've done very, very well for themselves. So, guys, we've got to take a short break. Initiate that pause. But when we return, we'll be joined by Vulcan's ManCloud and Bloodwater. Then we're going to break down the biggest plays from our first 3 games. The North American League of Legends Championship.